Chapter 693 Blood Emperor Throne, the Ancient King. The 9 bridges of death and 1 bridge of life began to collapse. The ancient jade used to construct the bridges fell into the deep abyss, before they were shattered into pieces by the black gust. There was only 1 bridge left, the one leading to the altar of the tomb. The altar was covered in pitch-black darkness on a platform that seemed to be floating in the dark for eternity. The altar had the shape of an ice cap. The stairs made of stones at the bottom were incredibly huge. Each stair was a few times taller than a human. It felt like the stairs were not meant to be climbed by humans, but built from some giant deities instead. From afar, red ribbons were dangling from the altar on the top corners of the stairs. However, after a closer look, there were no ribbons, but thick blood falling down the stairs like waterfalls. The top corners of the stairs were constructed in the shape of dragon heads. The waterfalls of blood were pouring out from the dragons' mouths from a great height. The loud rumbling of the bloodfalls echoed in the area. Zhang Xiaohou recalled the same dragons spitting out water on the rooftop of the museum in the inner city. However, the ones on the museum were designed as drains for the rain, a spectacular sight on rainy days. In comparison, the dragons here at the altar were fairly spooky. It was hard to tell if it was some kind of red liquid or real, fresh blood that was still flowing after over 2,000 years. As the group climbed the stairs, the size of the altar began to shrink. The path gradually turned narrower the higher they went. The width of the stairs was the same length as a person's long stride. I can see the top. The thing up there must be the Blood Emperor throne that Fang Jiyu mentioned. Su Xiaoluo wiped the sweat off her forehead. Her pale face was filled with a hint of joy. They had finally arrived at the Blood Emperor throne, after going through untold hardships. Hopefully, they were still in time. With so many lives at stake, even though the altar floating in the endless darkness looked extremely terrifying, the group was determined to risk their lives, even if it meant going through mountains of daggers and a sea of flames. Otherwise, the lives of millions of people in the city would become the sacrifices for the Black Vatican and Salon's festival. "We're here, we made it," Su Xiaoluo said to Zhang Xiaohou behind her in excitement, as she was the first to make it to the top. Zhang Xiaohou was tired as he made it to the top. He glanced at the top of the altar made of white jade and saw a huge jadeite at the center. The jadeite was red and transparent with rising edges. It looked a throne with countless swords stuck to it. The Blood Emperor throne. The person sitting on the Blood Emperor throne must be the ancient king, Ying Zheng. Zhang Xiaohou took a deep breath and proceeded forward. There was indeed someone sitting on the Blood Emperor throne, but it was hard to tell if the person was alive or dead. He was wearing a black battle robe, obviously a historical artifact. However, it still had an icy glow, to the extent that Zhang Xiaohou could easily see his own timid reflection as he approached the throne. The person was sitting on the throne, supporting his jaw with a hand. His body was leaning sideways slightly. The shadows under the cap on his head barely concealed his face. However, the light produced by the fire on the altar revealed his lower jaw and the evil grin he was wearing. He seemed to be either taking a nap or in deep thought. Either way, he did not look like a dead person. Zhang Xiaohu's forehead was fully covered in sweat. He never thought an emperor who had died over 2,000 years ago would apply such great pressure to him. In Zhang Xiaohu's mind, the person could stand up at any second and stare right into his eyes with a gaze that would easily shatter his soul. By then, he would have trouble remaining standing. "I'm curious." Suddenly, the person sitting on the throne spoke. The voice gave Zhang Xiaohou, Lu Ru, and Su Xiaoluo a fright. It felt like their scalps were on the verge of exploding. "How did you find a way out of the space of death?" the voice continued, as the person slowly raised his head. The light of the fire slowly chased the shadows concealing the person's face away, revealing a familiar face with 2 lines of white sideburns. His thick lips were dark purple, with purple runes spreading to his cheeks, granting him a very eerie appearance. How are you here?" Lu Ru was the first to exclaim. They were definitely familiar with the face, as it belonged to Fang Jiyu, who had chosen to pick a bridge on his own. Zhang Xiaohou was stunned, too. He could not tell if the person was the ancient king, Ying Zheng, or Fang Jiyu who had picked the right bridge, since his aura was totally different than before. "What's happening? Why are you sitting here?" said Zhang Xiaohou in disbelief. "Why can I be sitting here?" Fang Jiyu laughed. "Where's the ancient king?" blurted out Su Xiaoluo. "I am the one you're looking for." "You're Fang Jiyu." "Not anymore. Everything is as I have speculated. The real ancient king has already passed away as time went by. All that was left was a battle robe that was attached to his corpse, and the Blood Emperor throne that can command the kingdom of undead." Fang Jiyu rose to his feet. The armored robe he was wearing clanked loudly. "What do you mean?" asked Zhang Xiaohou. "The first person to reach here will inherit everything from the ancient king. His white palace, and his kingdom of undead that his hands raised." He had an endless supply of energy, and unmatchable wisdom. Fang Gu's voice with a hint of strange metallic sound echoed at the top of the altar. "Then what are you doing sitting there? Hurry up and chase the army of undead and the mountain zombie away. Stop the dark abyss from drifting into the city," said Su Xiaoluo. Fang Jiyu burst out laughing when he heard Su Xiaoluo's words. His laughter sounded extremely weird. Even though the sound had come from his throat, it felt like something hiding under his skin was making the noise. "What are you laughing at?" snapped Su Xiaoluo. Zhang Xiaohou pulled Su Xiaoluo, signaling her to stand behind him. Su Xiaoluo immediately realized something when she saw his stern expression. She quickly stepped a few steps back. "How amusing! My soldiers, my generals, and my officials are taking back the city that's supposed to be mine. Why would I stop them?" Fang Gu's laughter sounded even spookier. Zhang Xiaohou, Lu Ru, and Su Xiaoluo were backing off slowly. They could no longer tell if it was Fang Jiyu wearing the battle robe, or the ancient king, Ying Zheng, resurrected through Fang Gu's body. Either way, his ghastly appearance and his weird voice were implying that he was not friendly. "Is he Fang Jiyu or not?" whispered Su Xiaoluo. "I'm afraid not," said Lu Ru. Lu Ru could easily capture the scent of a living human. The truth was, she did not sense a living presence from Fang Jiyu. Fang Jiyu might have assumed that the ancient king was dead. Once he wore the battle robe, he would inherit everything from the ancient king. However, from his twisted expression, it turned out that Fang Jiyu was the one who had been inherited. Chapter 694 Evil Battle Robe. "What do we do now?" whispered Su Xiaoluo. It took them great effort to come this far, yet to their surprise, Fang Jiyu had turned into something like this. He never had the intention to stop the calamity, or maybe he was wicked beyond redemption from the beginning. He was evil all along. "Blood. I need more blood." Fang Gu's eyes suddenly became hollow, as if the pupils were dug out. It felt like a ghost could come out from the sockets at any time. He rose to his feet. His movements seemed sluggish and stiff, yet his body was unleashing a wild stench of blood. His open mouth implied that he was planning to eat them alive. "He is turning into a zombie." Lu Ru swiftly backed off, dragging the other two with her. At the start, Fang Jiyu still had a faint human presence. From his words, it seemed like he still retained some of his memory, yet his smell now completely resembled that of a zombie. He was no longer a living human, but a monster who had rotted away after staying in the tomb for many years. Even his soul had turned into a greedy phantom. Fang Jiyu was dead, even his soul was replaced. All that was left was an empty shell that was no different than the zombies outside the tomb. Fang Jiyu, still in the battle robe, lunged forward, clenching his hands into long claws with blue nails. Su Xiaoluo was his first target. Fresh blood, more fresh blood was needed. In order to resurrect the ancient king, more blood of his descendants was needed. The blood of the ancient king in the pure-blooded descendant, Su Xiaoluo, was exactly what he needed. "He still hasn't acquired the ancient king's true power. Kill him," said Lu Ru. Fang Gu's aura was extremely evil, but it was not as overwhelming as they had imagined. Perhaps his body and soul were not what the ancient king really wanted, so he had turned into a zombie-like puppet. Turning a living human into a zombie was an extremely terrifying black magic. When Lu Ru saw Fang Jiyu lunging at Su Xiaoluo, she immediately grabbed the zombified mage and slammed him to the ground. Lu Ru's hands turned into claws, too. She did not show any mercy. She stabbed the sharp claws of the blood tribe right into Fang Gu's heart. Initially, Lu Ru thought the battle robe had a strong defense. It was unlikely that her attack would inflict any damage to him. To her surprise, her claws easily penetrated the armor and came into contact with Fang Gu's rotting flesh, piercing through his heart with ease. The heart inside had already stopped beating. Black liquid leaked out from the cut. Lu Ru immediately withdrew her hand and stared at Fang Jiyu with a confused look. How weak! This Fang Jiyu was extremely weak. The strength and defense he acquired after turning into a zombie were only comparable to a servant-class zombie. When Lu Ru saw Fang Jiyu fall to the ground, twitching with a ghastly appearance, she somehow felt pity for him. Inheriting the ancient king's magic, gaining control of the kingdom of undead? He did not even realize that his life was drained away by the battle robe until only an empty shell was left. Even his soul was gone. He was a real sacrifice for the ancient king's resurrection, one among many over the last 2,000 years. Fang Gu's black blood flowed out from his body, which gradually separated from the battle robe. A dried corpse fell to the ground. Even his hair had wilted like grass. Meanwhile, the black battle robe floated back to the Blood Emperor throne after absorbing Fang Gu's life force. Although no one was wearing the armor, it felt like someone alive was sitting in it, with a pair of crimson eyes under the cape staring right deep into their souls, able to see everything in their hearts. "We shouldn't put on the robe," Lu Ru breathed out. It turned out that the threat was not Fang Jiyu, who was wearing the battle robe, but the battle robe with the evil aura itself. While the three were clueless about what to do, the altar suddenly shook. The black space began to twist, spiral, and bend at times, with gaps appearing out of nowhere. A strong wind was sweeping down from above them. Zhang Xiaohou raised his head and saw a huge black cloud made of zombies above him. They were flying around like a tornado while uttering groans and cries of agony. "The altar is rotating. Does this mean the dark abyss is about to shift in space soon?" asked Lu Ru. Taking the time into consideration, dawn had already arrived. It was the last time the dark abyss would shift to somewhere else. Since the ancient king was planning to resurrect himself, the inner city was the most ideal place to go. Since he had become the highest ruler of the kingdom of undead, he would surely not allow a living human to stay in his kingdom. Blood. Fang Jiyu was mentioning something about blood. Does that mean the ancient king's resurrection requires a huge amount of blood? Is he trying to turn the people in the inner city into sacrifices? Blurted out Su Xiaoluo as she thought of something. If the millions of people fell into the dark abyss, it would not just produce a pond of blood. It would be a sea of blood. Everyone there would be turned into a sacrifice. The Black Vatican must have learned the secret somehow and found a way to control the space shift of the dark abyss. Instead of describing the calamity as a festival of death, it was more correct to say that they were planning to resurrect the ancestor of the undead, who had died over 2,000 years ago, all along. The altar was shaking. The group could no longer stand easily. "What do we do now? We're out of time." Lu Ru's mind went blank. Zhang Xiaohou climbed to his feet and glared at the strange battle robe on the throne. He had bitten his lips open. Zhang Xiaohou struggled to his feet and cast Wind Track to run to the battle robe on the throne. Don't do it. You're going to end up like Fang Jiyu," screamed Su Xiaoluo, who knew what Zhang Xiaohou was thinking. "We don't have much time left to think about that." Zhang Xiaohou had no time to think. The place was shifting rapidly. They could not afford to waste a second more. Rushing up to the battle robe, Zhang Xiaohou immediately sensed a great power urging him to wear the battle robe. It felt like he could resolve everything once he put on the battle robe. He turned around, looking at Su Xiaoluo, as if he was trying to remember her face. In the following second, Zhang Xiaohou grabbed the battle robe. The battle robe was able to attach itself to a body. When someone touched it, it would reform and swiftly attach to the person's body. Zhang Xiaohou was slightly regretful when he made the decision. The thing was like a demon with its mouth wide open, waiting for him to fall into its mouth. Being regretful would not change anything. Zhang Xiaohou closed his eyes. He was only hoping that he had the chance to command the undead army before turning into a dried corpse like Fang Jiyu, even if it only lasted for an instant. However, when the battle robe was about to wrap around Zhang Xiaohou, a powerful hand grabbed him and tossed him away from the Blood Emperor throne. Zhang Xiaohou was thrown away. When he was spinning in the air, he saw a firm back. He was extremely familiar with the person's back. When he first joined the battle mages, it was this man, who was capable of fighting the Darkwing Wolf alone, that astonished him. Zhang Xiaohou fell to the ground. He yelled at the top of his lungs as his eyes began to tear. Chief Military Instructor. Chapter 695 Soul Shadow, Adult Phase Flame Bell. Lu Ru and Su Shaoluo were stunned too. They had not noticed the man until he appeared just now. They could not tell if he had just arrived, or if he was already here for some time. He was extremely quick. He suddenly showed himself when Zhang Xiaohou was about to be wrapped up by the armor. He pulled Zhang Xiaohou out of the demon's throat with brute strength. However, the black battle robe was quite greedy. After losing the chance to use Zhang Xiaohou as a sacrifice, it uttered a wild screech and lunged at the man instead. The cape flew at the man's head like a little demon. No matter how hard the man was trying to pull it off, it was stuck onto his scalp. While the man was struggling with the cape, his legs, torso, and arms were covered by the battle robe. Each armor piece seemed to have its own consciousness. It was impossible to take them off once they were attached. Oh! It felt like even the man's soul was being occupied by the battle robe. The man that saved Zhang Xiaohou let out a scream of agony. He almost dug his fingers into his skin and tore himself in half. The scream echoed through the hall, leaving the three young adults shivering. Tears rolled down Zhang Xiaohou's cheeks when he witnessed the scene. He was supposed to be the one enduring the pain, but the man had taken his spot instead. His superior did not speak a single word, nor did he give him a single gaze. All Zhang Xiaohou could see was a determined back. Chief Military Instructor. Chief Military Instructor. Zhang Xiaohou wanted to go up to the man to share his pain, yet Lu Ru would not allow him to do anything so stupid. Chief Military Instructor, is he Chief Military Instructor Zhang Kong, that you and Mo Fan always mentioned? Lu Ru grabbed onto Zhang Xiaohou tightly. The battle robe was scarier than they thought. It was entirely a black demon that would fiercely occupy the body of anyone that came into contact with it. If Zhang Xiaohou went up to it now, he would also turn into a meaningless sacrifice. Zhang Xiaohou never expected Zhang Kong to be here, too. Even though he was full of doubts, he only felt like his heart was being shredded when he saw his chief military instructor being tortured by the demon. Do you really think you're that great? Come, eat my soul. Once you've eaten my soul, you'll die too. You should have gone to hell ages ago. Zhang Kong's voice was incredibly weird, yet the words in his screams were obviously spoken with his own consciousness. He was not talking to Zhang Xiaohou, Lu Ru, or Su Shaoluo. The words were directed at the battle robe that was devouring him. Fang Jiyu had turned into a dried corpse, just a failed sacrifice. He had failed to gain anything from the battle robe. However, it felt like Zhang Kong had something that the battle robe was scared of, giving his soul a chance to struggle. If you want my body, show me some sincerity, Zhang Kong said to himself, while trying his best to suppress something. The battle robe was now attached to Zhang Kong's skin, yet he totally ignored the pain. Amazingly, he tore one of the pieces off, which also ripped a layer of his own skin off, splattering blood everywhere. The armor piece let out a ghastly screech. It tried to reattach itself to Zhang Kong, yet the man violently kicked the armor piece covered in fresh blood away, before he burst out laughing like a madman. Either you obey me completely, or we'll die together. Eternal life? I'll now send you to eternal doom. Zhang Kong tore another armor piece off his leg. Fresh blood poured out from the wound. Zon Kong was totally willing to harm himself to threaten the battle robe, and so managed to control the situation. The demon that was draining his soul finally halted. Su Xiaoluo, Zhang Xiaohou, and Lu Ru were stunned. They had witnessed how Fang Jiyu had turned into a dried corpse. They assumed Zon Kong, who had taken Zhang Xiaohu's spot, would end up the same way. To their surprise, he managed to suppress the evil battle robe. Even so, Lu Ru could clearly sense that the man no longer had the presence of a living human. The inner city. A deep clock chime echoed in the inner city. The ancient clock at the center of the city was shaking from some overwhelming force. As soon as the chime sounded, the people of the inner city somehow felt like it was a peaceful dawn as the old times. The truth was, many people had seen a fiery figure flying toward them. It had torn a gap on the golden barrier and was flying straight at the clock tower. It seemed to be the expert that was fighting the mountain zombie. Half of Mo Fan's body was stuck in the giant clock. He struggled out from the clock and fell to the platform of the tower, together with a bunch of debris. Mo Fan felt like his bones were on the verge of shattering. The mountain zombie's punch was simply too powerful. It had knocked Mo Fan flying for kilometers before slamming right into the clock tower at the center of the inner city. Luckily, he had struck the giant clock that was imbued with magic. If he had landed among the crowd, the impact would have taken many innocent lives. Mo Fan spat out the blood in his mouth. He turned around and saw the devoted deacon of the Black Vatican, Mu He. Mu He was looking at him too. His eyes almost popped out from the sockets. Is that Mo Fan? The person fighting the mountain zombie is Mo Fan. Demon Mo Fan was rather evil, too. When he saw Mu He hanging on the clock and staring at him in astonishment, his burning face immediately revealed a pair of fangs. What were you saying before? That I'm only playing an insignificant role in this festival? Mo Fan said to Mu He as he was recovering from his wounds. What exactly are you? Mu He was dumbfounded. Open your eyes and look carefully at how I'm going to ruin your festival. Mo Fan yelled. His demonic eyes emitted a brilliant flicker. Flames engulfed his body, while lightning dragons circled him. Two different types of power were surrounding his figure. Obviously, two types of power were nowhere enough. In the midst of the flames, a soul shadow slowly appeared. It was no longer a ferocious wolf shadow, but the silhouette of a glamorous fire demoness. Instead of a demoness, the shadow resembled a goddess born from the flames of creation. She was murmuring some ancient chants with her eyes closed, granting all her power to the person who had awakened her. This must be the appearance of Little Flame Bell once she reaches the adult phase? Chin Nan mumbled to himself. Mo Fan had already sensed the incredible power and potential of a blessed creature like the Flame Bell just from the faint soul shadow. The fire demoness soul shadow did not fight for Mo Fan, but it granted him the blessing of fire, making the flames engulfing him burn fiercer. The flames rose into the air from the clock tower. The people in the inner city could see them clearly, let alone Mu He, who was only 10 meters away. Mu He's eyes widened. He could not believe what he was seeing. Chapter 696 Slaying the Mountain Zombie. Bang! A huge blast took place on the clock tower. The magnificent building almost collapsed from the force as Mo Fan, who had just slammed into it, kicked off it and shot out of the inner city like a brilliant ray of light, returning to the battlefield within the blink of an eye. The light shocked the mountain zombie. It was utterly relieved after getting rid of an annoying pest, yet to its surprise, the demon had returned in just a few seconds. What kind of body was that? A normal human would have died many times over by now, yet the guy was still charging toward him like he was unharmed. Cry of the Snow Mistress, Icy Rain of the Sorrowful World. President Han Ji finished channeling the third-tier super ice spell under the protection of the other experts. In the sky, the icy clouds combined into the glamorous figure of a sacred goddess. Her sorrowful tears turned into the most incredible, piercingly cold snowstorm of the past 100 years. The air was frozen, the vast land was frozen, all living things were frozen. The icy rain covered a great distance, most of them landed on the mountain zombie, which swiftly turned into a layer of ice covering its body. The icy rain fell, and the snow stacked up into a mountain. The savage mountain zombie seemed to be suppressed by the icy rain of the sorrowful world. Its movement gradually turned stiff as more and more of its body was covered in ice. The clouds were frozen, the air was frozen, the ground was frozen. The mountain zombie standing tall was frozen, too. The process did not last for long. Under the throat, destroy its undead crystal. President Han Ji raised his pale face. His hair was white like snow, yet he still gathered his strength to say those words to Mo Fan, who was flying back to the battlefield. Mo Fan swept through the sky. The flames trailing him spread into an ocean of fire. He glanced at the frozen mountain zombie. He could tell that the creature was raising its arms, trying to protect the area under its throat, yet it was frozen by President Han Ji in the process. Cry of the Snow Mistress, icy rain of the sorrowful world. As expected of the man with the strongest cultivation among them, he had managed to suppress the mountain zombie at such a crucial moment. The mountain zombie was breaking into pieces. Cracks began to surface on the ice. Mo Fan knew it was his perfect chance. The flames engulfing him turned into purple-black lightning. Die! Mo Fan turned into a weapon covered in raging flames, a soul shadow, lightning, and runes as he pierced through the wound under the mountain zombie's throat. A formidable blood energy rose inside the mountain zombie's body, shattering the ice covering its body with brute force. However, the moment it broke free from the ice, the destructive light ray mixed with 4 different colors that Mo Fan had turned into pierced into it, right below the mountain zombie's throat. Its throat was already exposed after the attacks earlier. This time, it could no longer defend itself from the new attack that Mo Fan had executed with all his might. Mo Fan simply flew from the front of the mountain zombie to the back. After a brief moment of darkness, he exited from the back of the creature's neck together with a jet of blood under the light of dawn. The mountain zombie was trying to defend its weak point before it was frozen. After breaking free from the ice, it subconsciously grabbed its throat with its hands, yet it was completely useless. It was holding the front of its throat, yet fresh blood was jetting out from the back of its neck. As soon as Mo Fan landed on the ground, the rain of blood poured down from above and put out the flames and lightning engulfing him. The mountain zombie was swaying wildly. When the group thought it was about to collapse to the ground, the creature picked up a corpse official and squeezed it into the hole on its throat. The spray of blood was stopped instantly. The mountain zombie seemed to have earned its second chance at life. It knocked the people around it away with the blood energy and fled north. It's not dead yet. Han Ji, the mysterious man, Zhu Meng, and the others inhaled deeply. They were completely worn out from the battle, yet the mountain zombie was still alive after suffering such a deadly blow. The magician suddenly felt extremely decrepit. It's running away. We have to kill it, yelled Zhu Meng. Mo Fan dodged the mountain zombie's stomps. When he saw that the creature was fleeing into the north, he immediately switched the soul shadow on his back and chased after the creature by sprinting across the ground. The Flame Bell soul shadow had granted Mo Fan the ability to control fire, while the Wolf soul shadow gave Mo Fan strong close combat capabilities. Mo Fan was incredibly fast. He was sprinting through the ocean of undead like a werewolf. The undead army trying to stop him simply became his stepping stones. Mo Fan kicked the head of a flesh-mound corpse official with a great force and launched himself into the air, lunging at the mountain zombie that was running away. The mountain zombie was running away, yet the ocean of undead was still around. The cunning creature would surely command the undead army to continue the assault on the city. The mountain zombie had to die. In addition to Mo Fan, Councilman Zhu Meng, the mysterious man, Du Xiao, and Han Ji also chased after the mountain zombie. The mountain zombie was indeed severely injured, but the death of an undead like the mountain zombie at its level was an obscure concept. If they did not kill it thoroughly, it would recover in no time and come back again. Han Ji coughed heavily before saying to the group, "Kill it." Zhu Meng, the mysterious man, and Du Xiao nodded. Mo Fan did not carelessly venture forward when he saw the others chasing after the mountain zombie. He gathered the strength of the wolf's soul shadow on his legs and kicked forward, launching a fast-moving shockwave in the shape of a black crescent at the mountain zombie. Zhu Meng did not hesitate further. The man whose energy was close to depletion simply took out his lightning spear. It emitted a blinding glow and flew in right behind Mo Fan's black crescent. The mysterious man and Du Xiao both cast a super light spell. It was the same enormous light sword that came down from the sky. This time, the mountain zombie had nowhere to run. The destructive spells flew toward the mountain zombie simultaneously, leaving it with no escape. Its eyes were filled with a grim light. Suddenly, the heaven and earth shook vigorously. A strange hole appeared behind the mountain zombie that was running away. It was like a black hole that was able to suck any kind of force into it. Mo Fan's black crescent, Zhu Meng's lightning spear, or the demon judgment sword, the whole of chaos was sucking them all. Whole of chaos. Han Ji was stunned. The others were dispirited too. All their attacks were sucked away by the whole of chaos that had appeared out of nowhere. They were so close to killing the mountain zombie. Such a terrifying strength. It just drew all our attacks away like that. The mysterious man's eyes flickered with astonishment. There's someone on the mountain zombie. Mo Fan's sharp eyes were immediately fixed onto the mountain zombie's head.